Hey guys, this is me, and I'm back with another reading, but before I start, I just wanted to preface this by saying that if you have a class on the Odyssey and you have like an assignment pertaining to like an essay or just any analytical assignment, I recommend that you take advantage of the introduction. The introduction goes over a lot of like classical Greek background, some key points within the text, some like just key context regarding its culture. And another thing is that there are summaries in the back of the book. You can see page 2022, and then there's glossaries, and there's pronunciation keys, and then you can see how to pronounce, and they actually have like reference as to how to pronounce these names, like Achaean, the collective name for inhabitants of Achaea, mainland Greece, was called. It's like the Achaean Alliance and whatever. So I just thought that was really cool and thought that if you're doing a class on this, you might want to, regard this. But I also want to say that I just don't have the energy to go back and forth and read through all of these pronunciation guides. And I'm really just trying my best from like context clues and from what I've heard to pronounce these names. So if I mispronounce them, it's nothing against you. This is something at this point that I'm doing for extra credit. Without further ado, I give you Book 10 of the Odyssey, by Homer, translated by Emily Wilson, The Winds and the Witch. We reached the floating islands of I'm just going to redo that. We reached the floating island of Aeolus, who is well loved by all the deathless gods. Around it, on sheer cliffs, there runs a wall of solid bronze, impregnable. 12 children live with him in his palace, 6 strong boys and 6 girls. He arranged their marriages, 1 sister to each brother. They are always feasting there with their parents, at a banquet that never ends. By day, the savor fills the house, the court reverberates a sound. At night, they sleep beside the wives they love on rope beds piled with blankets. We arrived at that fine citadel. He welcomed me and made me stay a month and asked for news of Troy, the Argive ships, and how the Greeks went home. I told him everything. At last I told him he should send me on my way, so he agreed to help me, and he gave me a bag of ox-hide leather, and he tied the gusty winds inside of it. Zeus, the son of Cronos, made him steward of the winds, and he can stop or rouse them as he wishes. He bound the bag with shining silver wire to my curved ship, so no gust could escape, however small, and he made Zephyr blow so that the breath could carry home our ships and us. But it was not to be. Our folly ruined us. For 9 days and nights we sailed, and on the 10th our native land appeared. We were so near, we saw men tending fires. Exhausted, I let sweet sleep overcome me. I had been doing all the steering, hoping that we would get home sooner if I did. But while I slept, my men began to smutter, saying the great Aeolus gave me gifts, silver and gold that I was taking home. With glances to his neighbor, each complained, "It seems that everybody loves this man and honors him in every place we sail to. He also has that loot from sacking Troy. We share the journey with him, yet we come back home with empty hands. And now Aeolus has made this friendly gift to him. So hurry, we should look in the bag and see how much is in there, how much silver, how much gold." That bad idea took hold of them. They did it. They opened up the bag, and all the winds rushed out at once. A sudden buffet seized us and hurled us back to sea, the wrong direction, far from our home. They screamed, and I woke up and wondered if I should jump off the ship and drown, or bite my lip, be stoical, and stay among the living. I endured it, covered my face, and lay on deck. A blast of storm wind whooshed the ships back to the island of great Aeolus. They began to weep. We disembarked and filled their jars with water, and hungrily the men devoured their dinner. When they were done, I took 1 slave with me and 1 crew member back to see Aeolus. He was at dinner with his wife and children. We entered and sat down beside the doorpost. Startled, they asked, "Why are you here again? You had bad luck? What happened? Surely we helped you go on your way, and meant for you to reach your homeland where you wish to go." I answered sadly, "Blame my men. blame my stubborn urge to sleep which ruined us. Dear friends, you have the power to put things right. I hoped these words would soften them, but they were silent. Then the father yelled, "Get out! You nasty creature! Leave my island! Now! It is not right for me to help convey a man so deeply hated by the gods, you god-forsaken thing. How dare you come here? Get out!" He roared and drove us from his palace. Dispirited, we sailed away. The men grew worn out with the agony of rowing. Our folly had deprived us of fair winds. We rowed 6 days and nights. The 7th day we came to Strigonia, the town of Telepilas upon the cliffs of Lemos. A herdsman there, returning to his home, can greet another herdsman going out. A sleepless man can earn a double wage by herding cows, then pasturing white sheep. The paths of day and night are close together. We reached the famous harbor, all surrounded by sheer rock cliffs. On each side, strips of shore jut out and almost meet a narrow mouth. No waves rear up in there, not even small ones. White calm is everywhere. So all others harbor their ships inside, crammed close together. I was the only one who chose to moor my ship outside the harbor, fastening the cables to a rock away. I know, that sounds weird. I disembarked and climbed out a crag to scout. I saw no sign of cattle or of humans, except some smoke that rose up from the earth. I picked 2 men and 1 slave as the third, and sent them to find out what people lived and ate bread in this island. They disembarked and walked along a smooth pass, where the wagons brought wood down from the mountains to the city. They met a girl in front of town, out fetching some water. She was heading for the fountain of Artaki, the whole town's water source. She was the strapping child of Inphites, king of the Lestrongians. They asked her about the king and the people of the country. She promptly took them to the high-roofed palace of her own father. When they went inside, they found a woman, mountain high. They were appalled and shocked. The giantess at once summoned the king, her husband, from the council. He tried to kill my men, and grabbing one, he ate him up. The other 2 escaped back to the ship. The king's shout boomed through the town. Hearing, the mighty Lestrongians thronged from all sides, not human-like but giants. With boulders bigger than a man could lift, they pelted at us from the cliffs. We heard the dreadful uproar of ships being broken and dying men. They speared them there like fish, a gruesome meal. While they were killing them inside the harbor, I drew out my sword and cut the ropes that moored my dark-cheeked ship. And yelling to my men, I told them, "Row as fast as possible away from the danger." They rolled at double time, afraid to die. My ship was lucky, and we reached the sea beyond the overhanging cliffs. The rest, trapped in the bay together, were destroyed. We sailed off sadly, happy to survive, but with our good friends lost. We reached Aea, the home of the beautiful, dreadful goddess Circe, who speaks in human languages, the sister of Aedes, whose mind is set on ruin. Those two are children of the sun, who shines on mortals, and of Perse, child of ocean. Under the guidance of some god, we drifted silently to the harbor, and we moored there. For 2 days and 2 nights we lay on shore, exhausted and our hearts consumed with grief. On the 3rd morning, brought by braided dawn, I took my spear and sharp sword, and I ran up from the ship to higher ground to look for signs of humans, listening for voices. I climbed up to a crag, and I saw smoke rising from Circe's palace, from the earth up through the woods and thickets. I considered if I should go down and investigate, since I had seen the smoke, but I decided to go back down first, to the beach and ship, and feed my men, and then set out to scout. When I had almost reached my ship, some god took pity on me and my loneliness, and sent a mighty stag with great tall antlers to cross my path. He ran down from the forest to drink out of the river. It was hot. I struck him in the middle of his back. My bronze spear pierced him. With a moan, he fell into the dust. His spirit flew away. I stepped on him and tugged my bronze spear out and left it on the ground while I plucked twigs and pines and wove a rope a fathom's length, well knotted all the way along, and bound the hooves of that huge animal. I went down to my dark ship with him on my back. I used my spear to lean on, since the stag was too big to be lugged across one shoulder. I dumped him down before the ship and made a comforting talk to cheer my men. My friends, we will not yet go down to Hades, sad though we are, before our fated day. Come on, since we have food and drink on board, let us not starve ourselves. Now, time to eat." They quickly heeded my commands and took their cloaks down from their faces, as they marveled to see the big stag lying on the beach. It was enormous. When they finished staring, they washed their hands and cooked a splendid meal. So all that day till sunset we sat eating, the meat aplenty and the strong, sweet wine. When darkness fell, we went to sleep beside the seashore. Then the dark roses of dawn's fingers appeared again. I called my men and told them, "Listen to me, my friends. Despite your grief, we do not know where darkness lives, nor dawn, nor where the sun that shines upon the world goes underneath the earth, nor where it rises. We need a way to fix our current plight. I do not know how. I climbed the rocks to higher ground to look around. This is an island, wreathed about by boundless sea. The land lies low. I saw smoke in the middle, rising up through the forest and thick bush." At that their hearts sank, since they all remembered what happened with the Laestronians, their king Antiphates, and how the mighty Cyclops devoured the men. They wept and wailed and shed great floods of tears, but all that grieving could do no good. I made them wear their armor and split them into 2 groups. I led one and made Eurylochus command the other. We shook the lots in a helmet made of bronze. Eurylochus's lot jumped out, so he went with his band of 22, all weeping. Those left behind with me were crying too. Inside the glade they found the house of Circe, built out of polished stones on high foundations. Round it were mountain wolves and lions, which she tamed with drugs. They did not rush on them, but gathered around them in a friendly way, their long tails wagging, as dogs nuzzle round their master when he comes back home from dinners and retreats to them. Just so, those sharp-clawed wolves and lions, mighty beasts, came snuggling up. The men were terrified. They stood outside and heard some lovely singing. It was Circe, the goddess. She was weaving as she sang, an intricate, enchanting piece of work, the kind a goddess fashions. Then Pylades, my most devoted and most loyal man, a leader to his peers, said, "Friends, inside someone is weaving on that massive loom, and singing so the floor resounds. Perhaps a woman, or a goddess. Let us call her." They shouted out to her. She came at once, opening the shining doors, and asked them in. So thinking nothing of it, in they went. Eurylochus alone remained outside, suspecting trickery. She led them in, sat them on chairs, and blended them a potion of barley, cheese, and golden honey, mixed with Pramnian wine. She added potent drugs to make them totally forget their home. They took and drank the mixture. Then she struck them using her magic wand and pinned them in pigsty. They returned to pigs in body and voice and hair. Their minds remained the same. They squealed at their imprisonment, and Circe threw them some mast and cornel cherries, food that pigs like rooting for in muddy ground. Eurylochus ran back to our ship to our black ship to tell us of the terrible disaster that happened to his friends. He tried to speak, but could not. Overwhelmed by grief, his eyes were full of tears. His heart was pierced with sorrow. Astonished, we all questioned him. At last he spoke about what happened to the others. "Odysseus, we went off through the woods as you commanded. In the glade we found a beautiful tall house of polished stone. We heard a voice. A woman, or a goddess, was singing as she worked her loom. My friends called out to her. She opened up the doors, inviting them inside. Suspecting nothing, they followed her. But I stayed there outside, fearing some trick. Then all at once they vanished. I sat there for a while to watch and wait, but none of them came back. At this I strapped my silver-studded sword across my back, took up my bow, and told him, 'Take me there.' He grasped my knees and begged me tearfully, 'No, no, my lord, please do not make me go. Let me stay here. You cannot bring them back, and you will not return here if you try. Hurry, we must escape with these men here. We have a chance to save our lives.' I said, 'You can stay here beside the ship and eat and drink, but I will go. I must do this.' I left the ship and shore and walked on up, crossing the sacred glades, and I had almost reached the great house of Enchantress Circe when I met Hermes, carrying his wand of gold. He seemed an adolescent boy, the cutest age, when beards first start to grow. He took my hand and said, 'Why have you come across these hills alone? You do not know this place, poor man. Your men were turned to pigs in Circe's house and cramped in pens. Do you imagine you can set them free? You cannot. If you try that, you will not get back home. You will stay here with them. But I can help you. Here, take this antidote to keep you safe when you go into Circe's house. Now I will tell you all her lethal spells and tricks. She will make you a potion mixed with poison. It's magic. Its magic will not work on you because you have the herb I gave you. When she strikes you with her long wand, then draw your sharpened sword and rush at her as if you mean to kill her. She will be frightened of you and will tell you to sleep with her. Do not hold out against her. She is a goddess. If you sleep with her, you will set free your friends and save yourself. Tell her to swear an oath by all the gods that she will not plot further harm for you, or while you have your clothes off, she may hurt you, unmanning you. The bright mercurial god pulled from the ground a plant and showed me how its root is black, its flower white as milk. The gods call this plant moly. It is hard for mortal men to dig it up, but gods are able to do it in everything. Then Hermes flew through the wooded island, back towards high Mount Olympus. I went in the house of Circe. My heart pounded as I walked. I stood there at the doorway, and I saw her, the lovely Circe with her braided hair. I called. She heard and opened up the doors and asked me in. I followed nervously. She led me to a silver-studded chair, and all finely crafted with a footstool under. In a gold cup she mixed a drink for me, adding the drug. She hoped to do me harm. I sipped it, but the magic did not work. She struck me with her wand and said, "Now go, out to the sty and lie there with your men." But I drew my sharp sword by my thigh and leapt at her as if I meant to kill her. She screamed and ducked beneath the sword and grasped my knees and wailing asked me, "Who are you? Where is your city? And who are your parents?" I am amazed that you could drink my potion and yet not be bewitched. No other man has drunk it and withstood the magic charm, but you are different. Your mind is not enchanted. You must be Odysseus, the man who can adapt to anything. Bright, flashing Hermes of the golden wand has often told me that you would sail here from Troy in your swift ship. Now sheathe your sword and come to bed with me. Through making love, we may begin to trust each other more. I answered, "Circe, how can you command me to treat you gently when you turn my men to pigs, and you're planning to play tricks and telling me to come to bed with you so you can take my courage and my manhood when you have got me naked? I refuse to come to bed with you, unless you swear a mighty oath that you will not form plans to hurt me anymore." When I said that, at once she made the oath as I had asked. She vowed and formed the oath, and then at last I went up to the dazzling bed of Circe. Meanwhile, four slaves, her house girls, were at work around the palace. They were nymphs, the daughters of fountains and of groves and holy rivers that flow into the sea. One set fine cloths of purple on the chairs with stones beneath them. Beside each chair, another pulled up tables of silver and set golden baskets on them. The third mixed up inside a silver bowl sweet, cheering wine, and poured it in gold cups. The fourth brought water, and she lit a fire beneath a mighty tripod till it boiled. It started bubbling in the copper cauldron. She took me to the bathtub and began to wash my head and shoulders, using water mixed to the perfect temperature to take my deep, soul-crushing weariness away. After the bath, she oiled my skin and dressed me in a fine wool cloak and tunic. And she led me to a silver-studded, well-carved chair and set a footstool underneath. Another slave brought water from my hands in a gold pitcher and poured it over them to a silver bowl. She set a polished table near. The cook brought bread and laid a generous feast, and Circe told me to eat. But my heart was unwilling. I sat there with my mind on other things. I had forebodings. Circe noticed me, sitting, not touching the food, and weighed by grief. She stood near me and asked, "Odysseus, why are you sitting there so silently, like someone mute, eating your heart, not touching the banquet or the wine? You need not fear. Remember, I already swore an oath." But I said, "Circe, no! What decent man could bear to taste his food or sip his wine before he saw his men with his own eyes and set them free? If you aren't so insistent on telling me to eat and drink, then free them, so I may see them with my own eyes, my crew of loyal men." So Circe left the hall, holding her wand, and opened up the pigsty and drove them out. Still looking like fat boars, large and full-grown, they stood in front of her. Majestic Lady Circe walked among them, anointing each with some new drug. The potion had made thick hog hairs sprout out on their bodies. Those bristles all flew off, and they were men, but younger than before, and much more handsome and taller. Then they recognized me. Each embraced me tightly in his arms and started sobbing in desperation. So the house rang loud with noise, and even she herself pitied them. She came near to me and said, "Odysseus, you always find solutions. Go now to your swift ship beside the sea. First drag the ship to land and bring your stores and all your gear inside the caves, then come back with your loyal man." My heart agreed. I went down to my swift ship on the shore. I found my loyal men beside the ship, weeping and shedding floods of tears, as when a herd of cows is coming back from the pasture into the yard. And all the little heifers jump from their pens to skip and run towards their mothers, and they cluster around them, mooing. Just so my men, as soon as they saw me, began to weep, and in their minds it seemed as if they had arrived in their own home, the land of rugged Ithaca, where they were born and raised. Still sobbing, they cried out, "Oh, master, we are so glad to see you back. It is as if we had come home ourselves to Ithaca, our fatherland. But tell us about how all our friends were killed." I reassured them, saying, "First, we must drag up the ship to land, and put the stores and all of our gears inside the caves. Then hurry, all of you, come with me and see your friends inside the goddess Circe's holy house, eating and drinking. They have food enough to last forever." They believed my story, with the exception of Eurylochus, who warned them, "Fools! Why would you go up there? Why would you choose to take on so much danger to enter Circe's house, where she will turn us to pigs or wolves or lions, all of us, forced to protect her mighty house for her? Remember what the Cyclops did? Our friends went to his home with this rash lord of ours. Because of his bad choices, they all died." At that, I thought of drawing my long sword from by my sturdy thigh to cut his head off and let it fall to the ground. Although he was close family, no men restrained me, saying to me, "No, king, please let him go. Let him stay here and guard the ship, and Let him stay here and guard the ship, and we will follow you to Circe's holy house." So they went up, away from the ship and shore. Eurylochus did not stay there. He came, fearing my angry scolding. Meanwhile, Circe had freed the other men, and in her house she gently bathed them, rubbing them with oil. She had them dressed in wooden cloaks and tunics. We found them feasting in the hall. The men, seeing each other face to face again, began to weep. Their sobbing filled the hall. The goddess stood beside me and said, "King, clever Odysseus, Laertes' son, now stop encouraging this lamentation. I know you and your men have suffered greatly out on the fish-filled sea and on dry land from hostile men. But it is time to eat and drink some wine. You must get back the drive you had when you set out from Ithaca. You were worn down and broken-hearted, always dwelling on pain and wandering. You never feel joy at heart. You have endured too much." We did as she had said. Then every day for a whole year we feasted there on meat and sweet strong wine. But when the year was over, when months had waned and seasons turned, and each long day had passed its course, my loyal men called me and said, "Be guided by the gods. Now it is time to think of our own country. If you are fated to survive and reach your high-roofed house in your forefathers' lands." My warrior soul agreed, so all day long till sunset we kept sitting at the feast of meat and sweet strong wine. But when the sun set and the darkness came, they went to bed, all through the shadowy palace. I went up to Circe's splendid bed and touched her knees in supplication. The goddess listened. "Circe," I said, "fulfill the vow you made to send me home. My heart now longs to go. My men are also desperate to leave. Whenever you are absent, they exhaust me with constant lamentation." She answered, "Laertes' son, great King Odysseus, master of every challenge, you need not remain here in my house against your will, but first you must complete another journey. Go to the house of Hades and the dreadful Persephone, and ask for the Theban prophet, the blind Tiresias, for his advice. Persephone has given him alone full understanding, even now in death. The other spirits flit around as shadows." That broke my heart, and sitting on the bed I wept and lost all will to live and see the shining sun. When I was done with sobbing and rolling around in grief, I said to her, "But Circe, who can guide us on this journey? No one before has ever sailed to Hades by ship." And right away the goddess answered, "You are resourceful, King Odysseus. You need not worry you have no pilot to steer your ship. Sit up your mast, let fly your white sails, and sit down. The north wind's breath will blow will blow the ship. When you cross the stream of ocean, you will reach the shore, where willows let fall their dying fruit, and towering poplars grow in the forest of Persephone. Tie up your ship in the deep eddying ocean, and go to the spacious homes of Hades. The Pyriphlegethon and the Cocytus, a tributary of the Styx. Both run into the Acheron. The flowing water resounds beside the rock. Brave man, go there and dig a hole a cubit wide and long, and round it pour libations for the dead. First honey mix, then sweet wine, and the third of water. Sprinkle barley and beseech the spirits of the dead. Vow if you reach the barren land of Ithaca to kill a heifer in your halls, the best you have, uncapped. And you will heap the fire with meat and offer to Tiresias alone. A ram, pure black, the best of all your flock. When you have prayed to all the famous dead, slaughter one ram and one black ewe, directing the animals to Erebus, but turn yourself away towards the gushing river. Many will come. Then tell your men to skin the sheep that lie there, killed by ruthless bronze, and burn them, with a prayer to mighty Hades and terrible Persephone. Then draw your sword and sit. Do not let them come near the blood until you hear Tiresias. The prophet will soon come, and he will tell you about your journey, measured out across the fish-filled sea, and how you will get home. Dawn on her golden throne began to shine, and Circe dressed me in my cloak and tunic. The goddess wore a long white dress of fine and delicate fabric, with a golden belt, and on her head a veil. Then I walked all through the house and called my men. I stood beside each one and roused them with my words. Wake up! Now no more dozing in sweet sleep. We have to go. The goddess gave instructions. They did as I had said, but even then I could not leave my men away unharmed. The youngest one, Elpenor was his name, was not very brave in war, nor very smart, was lying high up in the home of Circe, away from his companions, seeking coolness since he was drunk. He heard the noise and bustle, the movements of his friends, and jumped up quickly, forgetting to climb down the lofty ladder. He fell down crashing headlong from the roof and broke his neck right at the spine. His spirit went down to Hades. Then I told the others, perhaps you think that you are going home. But Circe says we have to go towards the house of Hades and Persephone to meet Tiresias, the Theban spirit. At that, their spirits were broken. They sat down right there and wept and tore their clothes, but all their lamentation did no good. We went down to our peace ship beside the sea. Despite our grief, we shed abundant tears. Then Circe came and tied up one black ewe and one black ram by the ship and slipped away easily. Who can see the gods go by unless they wish to show themselves to us?